All right, folks, Yishai Fleischer here. I'm in Hebron at the tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs, the mamas and the papas of the Jewish people, the founders of the story of the Bible. Amazing. Now, this Sabbath is going to be a very special Sabbath. Every year on this Sabbath, which is called Chayei Sarah, the life of Sarah, which is chapter 23 of the book of Genesis, that's where it begins, is the story of the purchase of this very spot by Abraham to bury his beloved wife Sarah. This place would become the tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac, Rebekah, Jacob, and Leah. However, on this Sabbath, when we read this, we're not alone. 20, 30,000 people come to this place. Lots of Knesset members, lots of important folks. It's become a religious, political, national, cultural Sabbath. I like to call it Woodstock meets the Bible. Okay, it's going to be massive. So, I have a special video for you today. It's a three-part video. The first part is we're going to hear a message from both the Prime Minister of Israel, Prime Minister Netanyahu, and also from the Speaker of the House, Ohana, leaving us a message of blessing for the Sabbath. And you'll see the English subtitles. That's one. Two, I'll give you a tour of Hebron so you'll get a feel for it yourselves, okay? This is a tour that I gave the Ministry of Tourism in Israel, and it's a great video. So that'll be part two. And part three is an interview with Dr. Noam Arnon, the world expert on this very place, and also a man who helped restart this tradition of coming to Hebron on Shabbat Chayei Sarah, coming to Hebron on this Sabbath where we read about the purchase of this very place. So it's an amazing experience, and you're going to be part of it wherever you are. So here we go with Hebron, first with the blessings from Prime Minister Netanyahu. Check it out.
השבת הקרובה היא שבת פרשת חיי שרה. אנחנו נקרא בתורה על קניין מערת המכפלה על ידי אברהם אבינו. זהו הקניין העברי הראשון בארץ ישראל. מערת המכפלה היא חלקת גדולי האומה של עמנו. בה קבורים האבות והאימהות של האומה שלנו. ממנה יוצאת תפילה גדולה לשובם של חטופינו. בדורנו התחדש מנהג יפה, להתאסף בשבת זו בחברון ולציין יחד אלפי יהודים מכל העדות והמגזרים, מכל קצוות הארץ והעולם, את הקשר העמוק למקום הזה, לעם הזה, למורשת הזו. אני מבקש לברך את האורחים והמארחים גם יחד, ולאחל לכולכם שבת מחזקת, מרוממת ומאחדת.
אחיי ואחיותיי מהיישוב היהודי בחברון, אני רוצה לאחל לכם שבת שלום ומבורך. בשבת זו, פרשת חיי שרה, אנו למדים על הקשר ההיסטורי, השורשי והעמוק בין אלפי השנים של העם היהודי לעיר חברון. לאחר מותה של שרה אמנו, אברהם אבינו מחליט להגיע מבאר שבע, עיר הולדתי, עד לחברון, כדי לקבור אותה במערת המכפלה, אותה קנה מעפרון החיתי. מאז ועד היום, כמעט ברצף, היישוב היהודי בחברון חי, נושם, לפעמים גם בועט, ממשיך להתקיים למרות שהארץ הזו ידעה שלטונות זרים וחרף התלאות הרבות שעברו על היישוב. כך שחברון היא לא רק עיר מלאה בהוד והדר, ביופי בלתי פוסק ובהיסטוריה העשירה של עמנו, אלא גם מסמלת את עמידתנו האיתנה כיהודים במשך אלפי שנים בארצנו. במידה רבה, חברון היא גם מיקרוקוסמוס של האזור שבו אנחנו חיים. שתהיה לכם שבת שקטה, חורפית, נעימה ומלאה במצוות ובבשורות טובות. שבת שלום.
Hey folks, Yishai Fleischer here. I'm the international spokesman for the Jewish community of Hebron, and I'm about to take you to one of the most unique and important biblical shrines in the world. They call it the tomb of the Patriarchs, but that's a mistake, because it's actually the tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs. It's the mamas and the papas of the Jewish people, the founders of the biblical story. The whole essence of the book of Genesis happens right here. Let's go in together. So the Bible tells us in chapter 23 of the book of Genesis about the purchase that Abraham made where he was going to bury his beloved wife Sarah. Later, he was buried here, Abraham. After that, Isaac and Rebekah were buried in this sepulcher. And finally, Leah and Jacob, the first Israel. And that was about 4,000 years ago. So this is a 4,000-year-old site with a building that's 2,000 years old. And the Jewish people have been praying here all those years. King David prayed here. Everybody's always prayed here. But you know what? There was a time where it wasn't so simple. In the year 1267, the Muslim Mamluks came to town, and they told the Jews, get out of the building. Well, what do you mean get out of the building? Our parents are buried underneath this building, and this is a Jewish building built 2,000 years ago by a Jewish king. And there was a staircase here, and the staircase, they were only allowed up to the 7th step. And they weren't allowed any further. And Jews came here and prayed here in the cold and in the heat for 700 years. 700 years of tenacity, of saying we belong inside. These are our mothers and fathers. We'll never let go of their memory and their heritage until they were liberated and allowed to go back in. Still, Jews come and pray in this place because they remember the 700 years of prayers and tears that sanctified this holy place. Here at the Tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs, you have Sarah next to Abraham. Right from the get-go, it was all about these people coming together to give birth to a nation. So people come into this room, and what do? They have life cycle events. They have a bar or bat mitzvah when a girl or a boy becomes of age, or they have a circumcision ceremony. And even I myself got married in this great space, and my wife sat here getting prepared for the wedding with Sarah, with Abraham, going into the wedding canopy. So towards the end of the book of Genesis, we learned that Jacob buries his wife Leah here at the Tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs, not Rachel. Rachel is buried at the tomb of Rachel in Bethlehem, which is about 20 kilometers north. And the reason for that is that Rachel died in childbirth in Bethlehem, and maybe Jacob was just too brokenhearted to bring her here. He just couldn't travel with her. Or maybe because we learn in the book of Jeremiah that Rachel refuses to be consoled. She continuously cries for her children. But this place is a place of consolation. It's where mothers and fathers are together. So here's Leah, and then you'd probably guess that across the way is, let's go over there and see, the patriarch Jacob. There he is, the patriarch Jacob. Now, Jacob was dying in Egypt, and he says to his children, don't bury me in Egypt. I don't want to be buried here. I want to go back to the place that Abraham purchased for full money, and he was buried there, and so was Sarah, and so was Isaac and Rebekah, and I buried Leah there, and I want to be buried in Hebron. And here he is, and here's another hall where we get that family feeling. Now, Jacob is not just Jacob, he's got another name. That's the name of Israel. That's the super name of the Jewish people. Jacob is like the mild-mannered reporter. When he tears off the shirt, it's Israel underneath. And so this place marks that Israel, that nation that has so many stories about it, so many issues throughout times, because this is a chosen nation, a special nation that God chose to bring God's light into the world. That's Israel. And the beginning of that are here at the Tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs. And people come here from all over the world to pray, to connect, to spill their heart, and to get strength to continue the chain of the matriarchs and patriarchs walking in the path of God. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed your tour of the Tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs here in beautiful and ancient Hebron. It is a very ancient place, and you've got to come visit it. You know, it's a bucket list dream to come to the land of Israel, and you're certainly going to go to Jerusalem, and you're certainly going to connect to the place where 2 temples existed, but don't forget to come visit us. The mothers and the fathers are waiting for you. Shalom. Dr. Noam Arnon, you are the legendary spokesman of the Jewish community of Hebron. You've been living here for over 40 years. Is that right?
50.
50, okay. And today I just wanted to ask you a question about something that's a very central event that happens here in Hebron every year, and that is the Torah portion of Chayei Sarah. This is the Torah portion that talks about the purchase of the Me'arat HaMachpelah, the Tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs, by Abraham. Chapter 23 of the book of Genesis. But other than just a regular Torah portion, it has become a semi-holiday in Israel and amongst the Jewish people. And I wanted to ask you the story. How did Chayei Sarah become such a festival, what I call it, a mixture of Woodstock and the Bible, right? How did it come about? So tell me the story about how this thing became such a magnet where we have about 20, 30, 40,000 people coming to Hebron. How did it come about?
Well, as many good stories, there are some options to tell the story. And
a few versions. That's right.
You can hear from different people different stories.
Okay.
Because everyone says, I thought about the Chayei Sarah from the beginning, and this is my idea. Okay, so I'll tell you what I remember.
Okay.
And you can then compare it to other people, to other stories. Anyhow, from the beginning of the renewal Jewish community in Hebron, I mean, from the beginning of the 70s, people understood that this portion, it's full of power, it's full of energy. Because when you touch the Bible and you are there in the same very place that it happened,
Right.
you connect what you think and what you feel and where you do and what you do and where you are and what you say and what you think about. It's all combined together.
Right.
It's marvelous energy that is streaming out from this place. So this began, and people invited friends to have the Shabbat with them.
People that were living here invited friends to come
Yes,
to Shabbat Chayei
friends to
Sarah.
come.
Right.
But it was, on local and on familiar level. But then it happened that the Oslo process began. As you remember, in 1993, the Oslo terrible, horrible process began. And then the Israeli authority, the Israeli government, decided to withdraw from all the places, the towns, the villages that were liberated in the Six-Day War, and gave them not to anyone else but to the PLO, to this terror organization. The result was, as it was supposed to be, a wave of horrible terror.
You mean the result was that what the natural course of events would have been, right? They thought it was going to be peace, right?
Exactly what was expected. This is what happened.
For people like you, they expected
A terror organization brings terror.
Right.
What can be less?
Give you away your land to a terrorist organization.
Yes.
You're going to get terror. But they
give the other room to snakes. You know the result.
But they thought it was going to be a different result.
Then the process continued more and more and more and more and more, and then it came to Hebron. It was then Gaza and Jericho at the beginning,
Right.
and then Shechem, and then Ramallah, and then etc., Tulkarem, etc., all these very famous sites. Now it came to Hebron. Now, when it came to Hebron, it was the last days of the government of Shimon Peres and the beginning of the government of Netanyahu. Now, we had to show that the Jewish people support Hebron.
This is what year?
96. We had to show that the Jewish people supports Hebron. The Jewish people wants Hebron. We thought
And is not willing to give it up.
Yes, in order to prevent and to stop the process.
Right.
When then still all Hebron was in our hands. And we thought, what can be more symbolic than thousands or more than that, tens of thousands people will come to spend Shabbat, the whole Shabbat, in Chayei Sarah in Hebron, to connect the Bible, the roots, the history, the politics to one connection.
And the purchase to the reality of our return to this land. That original purchase 3,800 years ago.
Exactly. And then we decided, let's bring the people here to Hebron for the whole Shabbat. Then
So wait, who made that decision?
Here in the next room here, in the Va'ad HaYishuv HaYehudi b'Hebron, the committee of the Jewish community of Hebron. I remember the people talking there. I think Orit began with it.
Orit Strook, she's a minister today in the government.
And everyone decided to bring more and more people here, to invite friends, to invite parents, to invite people.
So in many ways, it was also a political statement, not just a religious festival, not
Exactly.
It was a political fight.
It was a part of the struggle to prevent the withdrawal from Hebron.
Right.
So it began then. It was in the end of 1996. The beginning of the Hebrew calendar is Tafshinun Zayin. I want to remind you that at that time, in that Sukkot, it was a war between the PLO and the Israeli army.
First Intifada.
Even before, it was after the first Intifada, but it was a war between the troops of the PLO and our Chayalim.
Okay. Soldiers.
And our soldiers were murdered by policemen from the PLO. And we thought that Netanyahu has a reason and a cause to stop the withdrawal. We were wrong. Well, but then it began And the year after,
What began?
the Chayei Sarah began. Unfortunately, we failed. I mean, the withdrawal in Hebron did happen
Right.
in January 97.
80% of the town was given to PLO control.
I'll tell you, it's 80% is H1. It's equal to A zone, which is totally controlled by PLO. About 17% is equal to B zone. I mean, controlled by
Army security.
Army security and
Right.
civilian controlled by the PLO.
And no Jews live in this.
No Jews allowed to
Right.
exist in these 97%, and 3%
Right.
Jews can live.
Right.
This is what happens today in Hebron. But the year after, we thought, after the shock that we were shocked, now we thought what we can do now. We are now a very small Jewish zone. You can call it a ghetto or something like this. And then we understood we have to bring the people in. Now we have to show the power. Now we have to show the belief and the faith and the connection and the willing of Jews to be in Hebron and to say Hebron is ours. Now it's much more important. And then we decided to to organize now a big event of Chayei Sarah, and then it began. And then more and more people came. And from year to year, you could see it began with a few thousands, continued with 10,000, continued with 15,000. Every year it grew bigger and bigger. Then about 8 years ago, I think, the Chabad movement brought a marvelous idea. Let's build a huge tent as a dining room.
Right.
To contain thousands of people.
With chandeliers and to feed 4,000 people.
That's
Right.
and to feed 4,000 or 5,000 people
Amazing.
with the best conditions, the best meal, with the glasses and everything on the table.
Right, like porcelain, like
Yes.
nice
not,
plates.
Not חד פעמי.
Right, not what do you call it? Disposable. Rather, nice plates. And it was definitely, there was a huge boom and a lot of people started coming. Let me ask you this. Is Chayei Sarah, what percentage of it is political? What percentage is it religious?
I think now it's maybe half and half. Many people feel some emotional feelings to the fathers, to the mothers, to the place, to the holiness, to the, according to the Zohar.
The mystical doctrine of the metaphysical Torah. Kabbalah.
The Kabbalah. Me'arat HaMachpelah, the cave of Machpelah, it's not only the tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs, it's also the connection to the world to come. It's the connection between heaven and earth. It's the connection to the Garden of Eden. And all the souls ascend to Garden of Eden through this cave. It's something magnificent to think about it. It's according to Kabbalah, and many people feel it. And this is one point. The other point is a national statement. This is our land. This is our place. These are our fathers and mothers. This is the place that Abraham had purchased. It's ours. It belongs to us, to our ancestors, to our grandma, and to our grandchildren. And from the more and more that, you see the people who come here to say, we are here, we connect to our heritage, to our, when you open the Chumash, you open the Tanakh, you open the Siddur, you read about the fathers.
You open up the Bible.
And you say, I am here.
Right.
I am privileged to be in this generation. Many thousands of years we were dreaming about it. Now we can be here. 700 years Jews were not allowed even to enter the building over the cave. And today we are there. We have synagogues, we have Brit Milah, we have Bar Mitzvah, we have Bet Mitzvah, we have everything.
Right, we do life cycle events at the Tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs, and I have to kind of draw a picture of what you're talking about, which is that there is very few things that you could feel like reading Parashat Chayei Sarah, which is the purchase of the tomb of the patriarchs and matriarchs by our forefather Abraham, and you are reading that from an ancient Torah scroll at the very place that it happened. There's only one word that I have that explains it all, which is it's organic. It's an organic feeling. There's the heaven above, the land of Israel below, the society, reading the Torah. It's just all one. It becomes like it's a one singular consciousness, and it really bridges ancient times, ancient purchase, our forefathers. There they are. This is the place. It just all becomes one for that moment, and it's a very special.
And you feel when Abraham had purchased this field, it was for me.
Right.
He wanted to inherit that. I shall inherit this land as a part. This is really what Abraham wanted to achieve, and this is what he did.
And another way of thinking about it is that the love of the forefathers and the matriarchs, the patriarchs and the matriarchs, their love and their building of a family, you could feel that coming down. And there's a feeling that you are with the parents of this peoplehood. So it's really also a site of national peoplehood. So thank you very much. Happy Chayei Sarah to you. This is Chayei Sarah number.
And I say to the people, if you want to come, you can buy a small tent for 200 shekel and bring some bread or some tuna and come here and put this tent wherever you want. No one will be hungry.
Nobody will be left hungry. That's right.
No. And you can be a part of this wonderful experience.
It is a wonderful experience. It's also a political battle, which is still raging. There's still accusations against us of occupiers and colonialists. When we come here, we kind of show to ourselves and to the world, to the media, to the politicians, to the global politicians, that we mean it, that this is our place, and we are indigenous, and we're part of this place, and we have a historical, spiritual, peoplehood connection to this place. No, Dr. Noam Arnon, thank you very much. You're also the world expert in the Maarat HaMachpelah. A happy Chayei Sarah. Dr. Noam Arnon, thank you very much. Toda rabba.
Okay.
And off we go into seeing what Hebron is all about. Check this out. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed that video. We had different parts there. We had the Prime Minister and the Speaker of the House. Then we had a tour in Hebron. And finally, my discussion with Dr. Noam Arnon. If you want to be part of this effort to beautify, to strengthen, and to make beautiful, and my new word is called beautifite. If you want to be part of beautifiting, then check out hebronfund.org. That's our way to strengthen this place and to connect it, to learn more about it. If you want to help my shows continue to broadcast, that's what we got to do. We got to keep broadcasting Israel. That's buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. All right, lots of blessings and Shabbat Shalom, wherever you are. Shabbat Chayei Sarah from beautiful Hebron. Shalom.